And finally here, our new Ventrac. We got the 4520Z Kubota gas. It had the most torque of all of the options for the 4520 line, which would hopefully help me on the hills. The demo I got was with a 4500Z. There's a lot of details online about the differences. I do not claim to know them all. I do not claim to memorize them all. The big ones that drove me to this was the increased hydraulic capacity, since everything on this thing is hydraulically driven. Our pivot point in the middle, hydraulic for steering. That silver bar down there, supposedly thicker. I've never seen a 4500 to know. Well, not that I've looked close to. The demo one was a 4500. So that's supposedly stronger. Obviously, you can tell by looking at this, we got the duals, 4500, 4520. You got the new lights. I only got one set of hydraulics on the front. This thing's expensive enough without adding every accessory they offer. Would have been nice. Maybe we add them down the line. You can see how it pivots, how wide this side is, because I have it turned to the left versus the other side, how tight it was. Controls, I can't speak to. The old one, where the PTO was on the front dash, I can't speak to how nice it is to have it on the side. I can tell you it's very convenient to be there. I did get the light kit, so we got headlights and then we got the canopy lights. We got the SDLA, obviously they're all going to come with that. I did add the suspension seat with the armrest option. The armrest option bugs me a little bit because I probably don't have it adjusted properly. When you're short, like me, and you pull this seat forward enough that your feet can actually rest on those pegs, and then when you sit in the seat, because the suspension, it goes down. Look at that, it's less than a finger width. So I'm not sure what to do about that, other than I push the seat back, because obviously when you pull the SDLA back, now you're still hitting this whenever you're sitting in the seat, because the seat scooches down. Surely someone thought about that in the research phase, so surely I'm doing something wrong. These armrests can supposedly go up and down. See how it gets lower? Maybe what I need to do is make my right arm way up in the sky, then it doesn't hit. Maybe that's the answer. I don't quite understand, and I'm sure, like I said, someone smarter than me knows what the answer is, but my wife is shorter than I am, so maybe we just need to leave this thing cranked as high as you can, but then your arm's in a funky position, hanging off, trying to reach the SDLA to control it. So in my whopping 2.4 hours of seat time on this thing, probably a little less because when the dealer delivered it, he drove it off the trailer and got all the attachments off the trailer, all two, and there's probably a little bit of playtime when they first got it, so I'll bet you I'm about 1.4 hours of seat time. But anyway, when my wife goes to use this, she's probably not going to like how this hits here, so I have to figure out that. I have just been letting my feet sit on the floorboard as opposed to the foot pegs. So far, not been a problem. I thought not a problem when making this video, but then after using the machine a little bit, going up and down hills, on the downhill side, if you can't put your feet against those pegs, you do slide forward and the belt catches you right in the gut. And then I also talked to a gentleman in the Ventrac service department, and he acknowledged the issue with the armrest hitting the SDLA. His answer was a little silly, that most people leave the armrest off the right-hand side or just leave the armrest up in the air. Not sure I like that answer, and a sarcastical portion of me says a Sawzall would shorten that armrest and then it wouldn't hit, but obviously that's not a good answer. And for the nerdy types that are all into the mechanicals, it is a Kubota gas. The ones I care about the most for every time I start it, going to be the oil, an odd way to check the hydraulic level, but the hydraulics have this little gauge. I don't know if I can get the camera in there at a good angle. Have this little gauge that you look and see where is the level of the fluid. That could be done better if you ask me, because that's just a weird way to check it. But at least I know how, and it's not impossible to check. Air filter, but then the one we'll deal with the most, this little guy. Got to keep the oxygen flowing. So that the machine don't overheat. I did add on top of the duals and the regular attachments, I did also add the canopy, obviously. It is plastic. Little disappointed that it's plastic, but most canopies that I've seen are plastic. You have to kind of hunt for the good metal ones. So it is what it is. It looks good. I like it. It's form-fitting. We'll see how it holds up. The idea is this thing's short enough that you're not going to be banging in the trees, but in 1.4 hours I've already done that. Banging in the trees. I added the light kit. I am going to take these, because it's just got one little screw on there. I'm going to take these guys and rotate them out just a little bit, so that they rotate out, so that instead of just having lights straight backwards, I have a little bit of a right and left angle from all 4 lights. I was surprised it had 4. I didn't know that was coming. I'll take the top 2 on the top front. I'll point them right and left a little bit, so that when I'm driving, the front lights point forward, and then those lights will point out to the right, out to the left. Not a lot. I'm not talking a 90-degree rotation, maybe 15. Just enough I can see what's going on to my right and left when I'm outside. One thing that would have been nice, probably a lot of people don't think of, is I got this mount. This little mount for my GoPro. Right? I just used one of these holes they had here, already probably laser cut, I guess. I don't know. This is pretty thick steel up here. And I mounted this mount. Works well. And the camera does get a good angle shooting down the side. I was gonna put the camera here in the front middle so that you had essentially the same view as I do. So it would have been really, really nice had the factory drilled a hole right there in the center. Would have taken them probably about maybe a second, with all the fancy machinery you see in their videos, to pop a hole right there. Yes, I can get a drill bit and some oil and have at it, but it would not look as pretty as their factory holes. That I will tell you. But this little mount has been pretty good for me. I just turn it whatever way I want to go. I've used it a little bit, and it is kind of nice to see down the side. When I put the camera up here, I see down the side, so you can see what the attachments are doing. I assume you would see the same up here, but I may drill a hole there in the middle just to see what the angle is. But sure would have been nice if there had been one there. Sure would have been nice if my SDLA and armrest didn't bang each other. Not trying to knock the Ventrac. I expect this thing to be just phenomenal for what I'm trying to do. So far, I've used a tough cut deck and I've used the power rake. And the power rake does a good job so far. It does struggle when I hit big rocks, which I have a lot of big rocks in the driveway. I did not get the 3-point attachment on the back. I got another tractor for 3-point. I suppose these are for something. First I saw those. Interesting. Not quite sure. But one thing I didn't know I was getting is this seat has a butt warmer. How's that? Ha! I did not know that was there at all. So, I don't have any fancy names. A lot of the folks that have these call them Bob or Bill or Joe or Jane. I have no name for this thing. I named my truck, big old Chevy Dually, I named it Big Bertha. Maybe I named this something cool once I think about it, but still learning. And I expect nothing but goodness from everything I've seen on the Ventrac line. A couple little complaints, I'm sure, are me. Like I said, it would have been nice if there was a hole to mount a GoPro in the front. I am surprised that the seat belt is not a retractable. It just hangs on here. So my cup holder is where my seat belt sits. My tractor that was half the price of this has a retractable seat belt, but you know, there's not a whole lot of room right here, so there's probably a reason why. Like I said, people smarter than me. We'll get her tweaked with the lights, pointing the way I want them to point for after dark. A lot of my work is done after work, and I always have to cut it short because it gets dark. So I'm hoping I got 4 lights pointing forwards, 2 lights pointing forward to the side, and then forward, backward, supposed to be very easy with this thing. 2 lights pointing backwards, angled out a little bit. I'll play with that after dark to see what type of angles we can get to get as much coverage as we can, but I don't want a blind spot right behind me. More to come as we play. Excuse me. More to come as we work and see what this thing can do.